Hello, my name is Danielle, and I am from File Hills First Nations in Saskatchewan. Um, yeah, I just came to share my story a little bit, give you a little background on how I grew up and everything. Um, I was actually born in Winnipeg, but raised in Saskatchewan. And growing up, we moved around a lot. And I remember, let's see, I think I've been to at least two different schools every year growing up in elementary school. And I remember being so proud of actually being at one school for one full year, and that was in grade four. So before then, we moved around a lot. So, like different towns, different cities, different reserves. And I don't really know why, but I just remember always being in a different town and never really making any solid attachment or like remembering any like real friends. But for some reason, we always ended up back in Fort Qu'apelle. So like grade one, I would start out the year in Fort Qu'apelle, and then we would move somewhere else. And then grade two, we'd come back to Fort Qu'apelle for half a year, and then we move somewhere else again. And then I think in grade three, I've been to I think three different schools in grade three. Both times being in Fort Qu'apelle, which is funny enough. Let's see. My dad passed away when I was 8 years old, which was I think I was in grade two when he passed away. And then let's see, growing up too is me and my siblings were actually like in and out of foster care. So like maybe like just temporary foster care for like the weekend, maybe like 5 days at a time. But that was like when my parents were partying too. And then after my dad passed away, I think yeah, I remember I think my parents were on a bender at this time when my dad passed away. Because I remember my oldest brother. So my dad had kids before he met my mom. So my older half brother was babysitting all of us kids. And then I think maybe my parents were gone for like 4 days before we get a call in the middle of the night. And I remember my brothers and my sisters like waking me up, and I was like, we have to go to our neighbor's house. It was my best friend's at the time, her parents' house. And like I didn't know why or what we were doing there, but I guess my brother got a call and he like heard the news, and he just wanted all of the family to be together. And then the next day actually um, yeah. I'm not gonna cry. um yeah, the next day yeah. Next day my mom came back home, and we went to the city, and then like finally they told us like what happened, and like my dad passed away. And I was so young, I didn't really like know what that meant. But yeah, after that we moved away from Fort Qu'apelle again. And then I remember we moved to Yorkton for the first time. And then yeah, my mom fell into like a deep depression after my dad died. And then as kids, we were put back into foster care for a few months. until my mom could like, I guess like not really get it together, but like get help and like come out of the depression stage and everything. See, after that, that was the last time that like me and my siblings were in foster care. But I was in grade 3 or grade 4. Can't remember. But I remember going to school in Yorkton in grade 3. So maybe I think that was the time. And then yeah. I think after Yorkton we moved to Regina, and that was the year that I actually stayed in one place for an entire year, and I remember being so proud of it, and all of my little friends there were like, "This is the only school I've ever been to," and I was like, "Wow, I've been to lots of schools." And then and I remember in grade 5, my mom ended up having a boyfriend, or like my stepdad at the time, I guess, would be we moved to Cowsis Reserve, and then we stayed there for a while. But my stepdad, when he would drink, he would get really, really abusive towards my mom. And I learned later as I got older that he told my mom to make a choice. And he was like, it's either me or the kids. And like, my mom chose us instead of him. And he was really, really angry. But I just remember like we're going to school that one day, and my mom came to pick us up, and we ended up going to a women's shelter in Yorkton. And then like my mom just told us, she was like, yeah, like we're leaving, we're not coming back, like pack all of your stuff. And then we went to a women's shelter in Yorkton. And then no, in Fort Qu'apelle. Can't remember. I'm pretty sure we moved back to Fort Qu'apelle at this time. And then yeah, after that like things started to get better. But then like yeah, anyways, I'll move on to I don't know, like growing up, I guess like I've always felt different than most people. Like not really like strange or anything, but like kind of like the black sheep of the family. Like in my family, I guess like the ones that I grew up with was 2 older sisters and 1 younger brother. And then like of course like I was too young to hang out with my older sisters, and then so it'd just be me and my younger brother all the time. But even then, it was like, even then, like I felt a little bit different than like my sisters. Like they would follow in the same path as my parents, is like smoking and drinking all the time. And like even though like as I got older, my friends were often, like the partiers and like the bad kids of the school. So but even then I just never really let that define me. Like they tried to get me to smoke, and it was just never really my thing. But I was always like, I guess like kind of fluid in my friends. So like I would be friends with the outcasts, and friends with the anime geeks and the popular kids. And I didn't really realize that until I got older, and I would think back on the people that I was friends with, and how they helped really like define who I am. Let's see. I think as I got older, I started to realize that like being the black sheep of the family wasn't really a bad thing as compared to people thinking that it's the bad thing. Like, you don't want to be the black sheep of the family, but I was proud to be the black sheep. You know, like I I take pride in knowing that I'm like breaking generational bonds of like generational abuse, and like kind of like filtering out the bad stuff that happened to indigenous peoples as we grew up. Um in my family, I am the first one to graduate. I'm the second youngest, but I'm the first one to graduate in my family. My mom is the oldest in her family, and she was the only one to graduate in her family as well. So it was a proud moment for me. And then I'm also the first and only one to travel overseas in my family. And I was so proud. Like, my mom taught me from, I think, like, from when I was 15. She was like, you need to get a job and you need to start, like, learning how to take care of yourself and, like, just gaining independence. So when I brought it up to her that my high school has a trip that they do every year, and then so I brought it up to her and I was like, Mom, I think I want to go on this trip. Like, how can I help? How can I make it happen? And she was like, you got to work for it. Like, I'm not going to pay for anything. So I was working at McDonald's at the time, and like every single paycheck I would just save it and make payments towards the high school trip. And then I think I saved up for about a year and I finally got to go in grade 11, which is in 2011. So that was the first time I traveled overseas and like really traveled anywhere. And like I was the first one in my family to like get a passport and travel overseas and like do things that weren't really offered to other people, it was amazing. And then after I graduated high school, my mom, I guess like he's seen this pamphlet of the Raven program. It was like Raven program, Bold Eagle program, and Black Bear. It is a program with the armed forces to help encourage indigenous youth to try to look for a career in the armed forces. So I applied for the Raven program and I got in, and it's basic training for the reserves, and it was aimed for indigenous youth, so like Inuit, non-status Indian, and status Indian. So I met like people from all across Canada and met the many different kind of indigenous youth that Canada had, and it was amazing. Let's see, what I like about it is I felt like I was kind of like empowering, or like not really empowering, but like creating a way to influence like people who come after me, which was encouraging because like my brother, he was the second one to graduate in my family, and he also tried the Raven program for a while and he liked it. Unlike me, he actually graduated and I left 2 weeks early before graduation. It was only a 6-week program, but yeah, it was encouraging. And I think as I started to get older, I realized that I have a heart for indigenous youth and for breaking the generational bonds of like of abuse. And like there's so much young people who go through abuse because their parents went through abuse, and I pray that we just continue to work hard and continue creating opportunities for our indigenous youth, and for like helping, I guess just helping people in general. Like I have a big soft spot for for anything to do with like, so like it encourages me when I see indigenous people like living up to their potential. Like like whenever I see posts on Facebook about like the first, well, like the pageant queen who was First Nations, and then the pilot who was First Nations, and like seeing doctors who are First Nations, and like especially indigenous women. It's like we're so powerful, and we can make a difference in the world. And as we slowly gain back our culture, then we can do amazing things. See, somebody asked me actually a couple days ago what it means to me to be indigenous and also be a Christian. And I found her question really interesting. And then like I started to ask myself, and I was like, what does that mean to me? And what I love about it is as a Christian and as being indigenous is that God created diversity for a reason. You know, like if we're all meant to be the same, then we would all be the same, obviously. But yeah, that's what I love about working with Island Breeze. Island Breeze is a ministry that works under the umbrella of YWAM, Youth with a Mission. And what we do is trying to create a cultural restoration by, I guess, like celebrating the different cultures and like how God was in the cultures before Christianity came to them. So like we had the creator and we have creation stories. And I believe that the creator and God are the same. It's just a different name. And yeah. I don't know. I guess that's it. I don't really have anything more to share at the moment. Yeah. Thank you for listening. And thank you for yeah. Thank you for listening. And thank you for your time. Have a great day.